Hey guys, and welcome back to another monster ranking video in Monster Hunter Rise. So I've ranked all the monsters as of the update 2.0 that we had recently, and this time I've done it as a sword and shield player. Previously I did it as my hunting horn kind of skills and emphasis of like how the monsters were to me as a hunting horn player, but I've recently finished all the quests in the game as a sword and shield player, and this is kind of the list that I managed to kind of come up with right at the end there. So some of the stuff you might disagree with, some of the stuff you'll see is drastically different from what I said before, and that's mainly because of the two differences between Hunting Horn and Sword and Shield. Sword and Shield, for example, has a higher reactive time. So some monsters that were really a bane for me as a Hunting Horn was mainly because the Hunting Horn had these long animation attacks and sometimes didn't give you a chance to move out the way. Like for example, with Rajang. Rajang is actually not as hard for me now anymore with a sword and shield player because I can just move around like so much more freely. He's not really a problem. Even Magnamello's not as hard, but he does still pack a punch and have a variety of crazy attacks that kind of still keep him on the top of this list next to Teostra. If I try point out specific monsters that might look a little out of place and let me kind of explain why they're there, like maybe the Apex Rathalos, which is right there at the second top there, that's mainly because he has a big explosion ability in the Rampage that can kill people immediately if you're just standing in the wrong place at the wrong time. And sometimes it's like funny to watch, but also it's like really annoying to predict, especially if you're in an area where you shouldn't be. So generally, just be in an area where you feel like he's not going to shoot, or just look at him and try move. But his explosion radius is massive, and basically he's obviously with the same kind of thing with those bombs everywhere. If you're in a really small locale or like in an alleyway, like one of those little valleys, then you got big problems when he drops bombs everywhere because there's nowhere to really like outsmart him. But if you're fighting him in a big open area, you generally shouldn't have much troubles. And then if we move on onto the A line there, Diablos because he's annoying, Elmodron because he's also annoying. Chameleos has a poison and the invisibility also annoying. Gossarag is quite annoying. Rathalos there is okay. Tigrex is he's annoying. Apex Diablos, he's kind of just the same really. I think the Rampage doesn't really do him justice. And then Kushala Diora is also more of an inconvenience than really a hard monster to fight, and Zenogre only really is tough when he goes into his electrified form, but you can actually stop him from doing that, so he doesn't really find himself so high on this list because you can prevent him from actually enraging into his electric mode. Moving on to the B line here, we've got Lagombi, we've got Apex Azuros. Maybe Apex Azuros is probably pushing more of the A line, but he's actually not that hard. It's still Azuros. You can actually deal with him quite alright. The Apex Mizutsune, we just destroyed it when I fought it. Kind of like the same as the normal Mizutsune, but yeah, I don't even really notice the difference between the two. To be honest, they're like exactly the same. Our Apex Mizutsune that I fought was so damn easy that it was easier than the Apex Azuros. It's just I think we just stun locked it like 12 times and it was just like dead. It didn't even get to hit any of us. It just stuck. It was stunned over and over and over and over again. I guess we had like a really good team for it. And generally, the rest of the ones in that line there are basically just kind of there because they're like just average middle kind of monsters. Volvidon's probably my most annoying one from that list there because of all the jumping and crazy stuff that he does. He's not difficult, it's difficult to hit him. He's always moving. And then if we go to C line, it's pretty much the kind of same kind of thing. The weaker versions of the medium kind of scale monsters, so they're not like the hardest things in the world, but they're also like they are kind of like kind of easy, but also not too easy. They're not like your Tetranodon and your Pookie and all the three like the four kind of like weird things at the bottom on the F list there. The Great Izuchi, Rogi, Kulu, and Great Baggy. They're all pretty easy. I mean, let's not joke around. Those are like the easiest ones in this game, obviously. If you want to make a tier list, there is a link in the description to take you to this website so that you can tier your own monsters in the way that you want to, according to how your weapon plays against them or how you found them when you first met them in the game. It could be miles of different types of reasons that you could like rate these monsters on. So if you do want to do that, there is that. Otherwise, point out something that you think is really weird with my list, and we can talk about it in the comments down below. Thank you guys for watching.